Hello, this is a Bosendorfer 170. It's actually 172 centimetres long. It's 5'9", and just coming to stock. So just assessing it to see what sort of work needs doing. Made in 1927. So you see, it was sold originally by the Wigmore Hall Galleries, and the keys are ivory keys. There's 88. Some Bosendorfer 170s have 85, and there's a bit dirty in the middle here, but in very good condition. They need buffing, but they're perfect. Now, looking at the casework, it's original French polish, quite tired really, and slightly scratched all over, and wearing really. So it could be made good. It's a candidate as well for modern finish polyester. Talked to in other videos about black being really difficult to French polish, so it takes actually longer than rosewood or the ones we're normally doing, and it's hard to disguise, you see, with rosewood. Let's look at the piano next to it, for instance. See, this is a rosewood Steinway. It's not one that we've repolished ourselves, but if you do repolish, you can obviously, because of the difference of grain, it doesn't have to look, if you see what I mean, so perfect. Whereas with black, you're going to see all the imperfections on it. So that's really difficult to do, and we, in preference, polyester them. Certainly, if you want to add the most value to them, then polyestering is the right thing to do. It depends obviously how the inside is, because it will look incongruous if the inside is not very good and the outside is perfect. Down this side you can see as well, it's untidy. We can certainly improve it a lot. We do spend sometimes a couple of days on black pianos like this and greatly improve them. Now, one of the jobs they did is to clean the inside of the piano, and they've also replaced the dampers here and the hammers, so that's good. And the important thing for us is, well, lots of important things, but the first thing we check is the tuning pins. These are original strings, original pins. That's why they're so small, and the standard lever is a bit wobbly on them. But that's good, because the original strings on Bosendorfer are a great find from 1920s. If you listen to the bass, this is, remember, it's a 5'9" piano, and it's very rich, kind of like a nasal baritone voice. The break point isn't fantastic on Bosendorfers, it never is, but the tone here is wonderful. So going down there, just on that beautiful pure tone. They've replaced the hammers, shanks and rollers here. We'll look at that in a minute. And just such a beautiful sound. Now, if you change these strings, and we mentioned this in other videos, you don't need to change original strings. The chances of them breaking, because they've been pitch raised already. Actually, there's an aside here. If you have got a very low pitch and hasn't been tuned for a long time on Bosendorfer, you'd have to be very careful, because these bass strings are very high tension, so they're near their breaking point. They're fine, because the whole piano is actually 2 beats above concert, so they won't break, and maybe you might get one breakage in 10 years, but it's nothing to worry about. So if you're purchasing one with old strings and it's not had any breakages in the past, you can safely assume it's very unlikely indeed you're going to get any. We guarantee this for 10 years without a problem. They've also cleaned up the frame and the soundboard generally, and done a great job at that. You might think if it goes into Bosendorfer they would recondition the whole piano, but it's totally unnecessary. And as I say, it's really difficult to get as good strings as the original. Modern string makers, you can put new strings on and you lose some of the original Bosendorfer tone, unfortunately. Sometimes, of course, it must be done anyway. Now, if we look at the hammers, shanks and rollers, this was the work that Bosendorfer did in 1991. You can see also they've changed the check felts here, and they've changed felts in the action as necessary. You see one there that's been changed, which is good. So they've done some good action work here. They are apparently sent off to Vienna for these. They're Renner hammers, the same ones that we would use. Nice and hard there, and then they're beautifully voiced. I can see plenty of evidence of voicing here. If you look at hammers, if they've just been put on, they look very smooth here. You can see the slightly rough look, which is correct. So when they're new, they're absolutely smooth. You can see the voicing marks there, very clear, and nicely voiced generally. They're beautiful bounce off the string, and they're just the right amount of hardness. Probably got to do some fine voicing. That we'll find out at the end of the day. With new hammer shanks and rollers, we talked about this many times, and the hinges are then all the same as each other. Let's see if there's any there's no moisture got into them. If there has, then these will drop down at different times, but that's just perfect really, a very good job. Now, having said that, the touch weight is very heavy on the whole and quite varied. Now that's 47 minimum touch weight. We'll just see how much we've got to put on for this. This is middle C. Let's see how much we had to put on for it to go down. An extra 5 grams on, that's 52. If I knock underneath the key bed, is it going down? No, it's not going down. 52 would be okay. There's an extra 4 grams on here. That's for 56 now. Tapping underneath, sorry, I can't hold the video steady. Still not going down. So now we've got an extra 20 grams on top. That's 67 and just beginning to go down nicely. So 67 is really far too heavy. Let's think about weight for the time a minute. Then 47 is a bit on the light side. There's a Steinway in stock here that we've weighted, and 47 is just pushing it down nicely. That's on, there's a sharps on the flat. This should be even exactly. That E is, so that E again is just about right. So 47 is a bit light, but some people like a light touch. It actually was about 47 in the olden days generally. Weighting's got heavier. Nowadays 50, maybe 48 to 50 is the range we operate in. So going back to the Bosendorfer, this is one of the lower keys, and that's just a bit less than 67, but that really is too high for anyone's use, really, I think. The concert pianist, you might want to go up to 55 possibly, just to get, that one's about the same. Let's have a look at this one. So they are slightly less than, generally slightly less than 67. A weighting's done with the sustain pedal down, taking the dampers off, by the way, and there's plenty of room in here to put extra leads, so that's what you'd have to do to re-weight, and there's a lot of room there. You can put plenty of lead in there. You can see some lead being put in. We need more. Before we do that, actually, we tested those screws, by the way, we've taken out to get the key rail out, so we could lift the keys up. First of all, they need lubrication of the whole of the action. Dry lubricant, that is French chalk, on the centre rail, that will definitely even out and slightly improve the weighting. And then lubrication on the action in general. So it's dry lubricant there, don't ever use wet lubricant here. And maybe lubricant in other places too, we'll have to see, but we definitely need to reduce that. It's too heavy. I'm used to playing heavy action sometimes, so I can just about manage it, but for a normal pianist it's not very pleasant. So that's a Bosendorfer 170 grand piano, made in 1927. Excellent age for Bosendorfer, 88 note piano, and it's just come into stock, so I'm assessing it to see what work we need to do. Now the good news is that it's got the original strings and they're all in perfect condition. We guarantee the piano for 10 years, but I don't expect the strings to break for 30 years. So if you're worried about having original strings, it's better on a piano like this. So they're so well designed for the piano. And if we change them, we certainly wouldn't really improve the tone at all. You might say that new copper strings are slightly better, but in fact the Bosendorfer strings are so good, they're so well made that I would prefer the originals. Now the thing that which we will have to do on this piano is weight the keys. Bosendorfer in 1971 have replaced the hammers really well with the right hammers, Bosendorfer Renner Bosendorfer hammers, shanks and rollers and other felts as well, and they've regulated beautifully. So the touch is generally really excellent, just too heavy. Set, as we were saying earlier, 65 grams plus, just to be generous to it, is every single key, which is really too high, I think. 55 might be acceptable, but we would set them, and modern pianos are normally set at 50 to 52. Older pianos were normally about 48 to 50. So certainly needs reweighting, and no problem, we've got plenty of space in the keys to do that. That's the only real fault with the piano. Our casework, obviously, that's something we would like to improve. But listen to the tone throughout. It's just so rich and fruity. And for this size of piano, the bass is remarkable, and the middle area sings beautifully. It's my opinion that this is a much nicer sound than a new piano. certainly the sort of piano I would love to have at home and play all day long. We put a 10-year guarantee on our pianos, and if you're interested in the piano before it's polished, please let us know. We could French polish it, but very, very often these are polyestered because the inside is really good, so it won't look incongruous if we polyestered it, and that would add the most value to the piano as well. French polish black is so difficult to do, and therefore very expensive. Thank you very much for listening.